welcome everyone as we are back with another episode of DC Graduates. I am one of your teachers, your doctor recommended dose of nerdiness, aka your nerd of day, Carlos Rodriguez. And as always, I'm joined by my teacher in arms, Sly. Sly, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I caught another bug. The joys of working around large swaths of public for extended periods of time. But you got some like sultry, suave voice going on there. I don't know what that was about, but I dig it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, I was bout of vertigo I got this weekend, and then a little bit of
Mm,
cold, I'm assuming I got. Yeah, which
mm.
kicked my first ever bout of vertigo, which I was like, oh wow, is this what this feels like? Is this what Kenny Omega feels like? Oh wow, this is horrible. That's not how I should have prefaced it, but that's how my brain worked it out. I was like, oh wow,
That's so
I'm
valid.
in a car driving with my kids in the car, and it's my first bout of vertigo. Is this how this professional wrestler feels like? Yeah,
It's very on brand for you, so
yeah,
you
it
know
is.
what? I'll take it.
100%, 100%. Yeah, so we are back. We're doing our second ever DC showcase. This is part of our bonus episodes before we
Mhm.
kick off season 3. We have a few we're going to be talking about
Right.
here, which I'm really excited about. So let's just get right into it. So we are,
Yeah, let's dive in.
yeah, we are talking about today Catwoman, Sergeant Rock, Death, The Phantom Stranger, and Adam Strange. Um, I'd never
Now,
seen all of
it's
these.
just
I was gonna say,
right, me neither. The way these worked out was all of the ones we covered originally were in like one package deal, right?
mm,
And all the ones we're covering next week are all in one package deal. However, this Catwoman was just by itself hanging out,
yeah,
and then the rest of them were on the DVD for Death of the Family, which we covered
yeah.
last season. So we had access to most of them legally. But
Yeah.
where is it streaming?
I
Who
don't know.
knows?
I don't know.
Who knows?
It's in the ether somewhere. Some pirate bays, maybe. Who knows? I'm
Mm-hmm.
not. I'm not one to
Mm-hmm.
say.
Who knows?
I know. I know. Catwoman would find them easily. So
Oh yeah.
as she does, as she does. But yeah, I've never watched these until for this. I mean, this is the first time watching these. We have some nice gems in here too, which I'm really excited to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And then you said you haven't watched these either. Um, I really like the showcase aspect. We'll talk about it in our next showcase a little more than our feature 3,
Yeah.
showcases. But
Mm-hmm.
I am a fan of the idea behind it.
The like
Generally.
format for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am,
Yeah,
especially when
it's
they
a
play
cool
with it a
one.
little bit.
Yeah, I love getting to dive into stories we wouldn't normally see animated on screen. I feel like it's I don't think this will be a really hot take. I feel like it's a way better execution version of Marvel's What If, which
Yes.
was also like a comic series that they did that they then animated into a TV show, but like that was done really poorly. And like having this DC showcase series, which was based on some comic books, but then becomes these animated shorts that then get tagged on to um, home release DVDs here and there. I think it works really well for him.
Yeah, especially when they have like a different style to them. Like we'll talk about it more with this
Hmm.
and the next ones. Like in our first showcase when we did them, what was it? The Spectre had like a
Mm.
70s like grindhouse vibe to it. Like that was so cool. And then we saw
Right.
some different ones in there. But with this, yeah, we'll kick off in a minute. These were directed. We have Lauren Montgomery, Bruce Timm, Butch Lukic, Bruce Timm again, Sam Liu. It was written by Paul Dini, Tim Sheridan, Luis and Walter Simonson, J.M. Demetis. I was always messed that up because even as reading comics, I was like, I don't know how to say that. So sorry. Ernie Outbacker, and again, J.M. Demetis. Studio, as always, is WB Animation. The stars, Elijah
No
Dushku.
extra.
No.
Sorry for the
Yeah.
studios. The both this week and next week, it's just WB animation. No additionals. Nobody else did title sequences. Nothing. It's just all in house. So
Which,
that was interesting to me.
and it's different, which is nice too. It's very
Mhm.
very well done, especially for what we get. Stars Elijah Dushku and Don DiMaggio for our Catwoman segment. For Sergeant Rock, we have Carl Urban, who could probably play Sergeant Rock in live action. We have Kimberly Brook and Charlie Weber for our next series. Peter Serafinowicz and Gray Griffin for our Phantom Stranger section. And Jamie Chung and Leonardo Nam for Death. Again, streaming. Who knows? Just,
Who knows?
Google's your friend.
Around.
Since we have so many plot recaps here, as you asked earlier before we started filming, we're gonna switch off on them. So, Sly, hit us with the first plot recap.
All right. And I will say one of these had an additional like fan submitted plot recap that was beautiful, but it was way too long when we were reading 4 others. So shout out to you. I saw you and I appreciate you, but we're just sticking with the boilerplate for these ones. So up first, Catwoman attempts to track down a mysterious cargo shipment that is linked to Gotham City crime boss called Rough Cut.
All right, for our next one, just after recovering from losing his entire unit in battle, Sergeant Rock leads a special army of commandos against a Nazi secret research base.
Interesting to see that after last episode.
I jumped. I was like, "Oh shit, really?"
All right. On a mining ice planet, Adam Strange awaits his chance to return to his own world while drinking himself to oblivion. Accurate. When the miners unleash a deadly force, things take a horrific turn.
For Phantom Stranger, we have a young girl seeking adventure and emancipation from her establishment parents is taken by a band of hippie acolytes to meet their guru. Can the ever mystical power of the can even the mystical power of the Phantom Stranger help Marcy find her own truth?
And finally, Vincent, a struggling artist with unresolved inner demons, tries to find a way in life. When he encounters death incarnate, he finally has a chance to defeat his demons.
All right, and then Sly, hit us with those comic book characters.
We got a lot of good ones in here. We got Catwoman, Holly Robinson, Sergeant Rock, all of the Easy Company, and the Creature Commandos. Death, the Phantom Stranger, Adam Strange, and Alana Strange, of course.
Right. For this week, because I think I didn't really put anything in the roundup because I wanted to get into the movie straight up. And since we are doing a second or a final part to these showcases, I think it's a better way to have a discussion there for them. And this is pretty jam packed, like story wise. So we'll just get right into it. Oh, yeah. We're starting with Catwoman. What a goddamn good short, man. I need more Catwoman.
Gorgeous. It is stylized. It feels in character. It's gay. It's sexy. It's everything you could ever want from a Catwoman story.
Has her best costume to date, my favorite, which is the background if you're watching the video version. I absolutely love this costume. And they do like an homage kind of to the the Arkhamverse, because for a reason she wears this costume in the Arkhamverse, but for whatever reason, Selena loves having the zipper all the way down while she's doing crime.
All the way down to the belly button, you know?
It's so practical.
And everything.
Yeah, it's so practical. That somehow is less practical than her all purple spandex suit from head to toe. You know? Right. And that is extremely does not make sense. Or her new one where it's like her armpits are out. Like, I was like, why? So when you want tactical gear, they can shoot you or stab you right here. It's exposed skin. But this is absolutely one of my all favorite time costumes from Selena, and it's cool because this is one of the things I'm talking about when you get different styles and all. At this point, we are well into the New 52. They could have gone New 52 costume in this, but you know, to keep it modern, let's say. But they chose this costume specifically, which is like the New 52 one is kind of an offshoot originally of this, but man, this it just shows off so well, and it's
just so iconic too. It's such a great look for her, and they've really embraced like what makes it functional to the extent you can say that about her look, but then also how it like suits her as like a character and her personality. And I think it was just really well done.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to shout out specifically about this, our villains. What is our villain's name?
Mm-hmm.
His name is Rough Cut. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it sounds like a How to Train Your Dragon villain. Rough Cut. He goes to a strip club called Buttermilk Sky, and that is no, I'm sorry, that's the name of the stripper that we see for
Mm.
a majority of the scenes in the club. Um, that's such a bad name for a stripper. That is such a New Jersey, Gotham City stripper name if I ever heard one myself.
Yeah.
Buttermilk Sky.
Uh-huh.
It was like, wow, that's gonna curdle. That's what that's gonna do. Jesus Christ. Oh my God,
Yeah.
what a horrible name.
Um,
Um, I also love that this guy did something horrible. And his first idea in Gotham, it's just like, I'm gonna go to the strip club.
uh-huh.
Like, that's not gonna save you, dude. Like if someone from the Bat family is not gonna show up, like then Selena's showing up. And she did it so cool. Like so Selena. Any other character
Uh-huh.
that would have done this, it would have been like maybe weird. But it being
Mm-hmm.
Selena going out and be like, hey, that girl kind of looks like Catwoman. She's doing like a strip tease for these guys. And then to
Right.
whoop their ass at the
Oh
strip
yeah.
club. Man, it was so cool. God, her move style, they really like incorporated like how acrobatic she is and how she moved around the whole club when she was fighting Rough Cut initially. As he's shooting and like throwing shit at her. She moved so swiftly. I'm like, yeah, yeah. This made me want not to bemoan like Anne Hathaway, who did a really good job in her Catwoman appearance, or Michelle Pfeiffer, who obviously killed it in hers. But
Mm-hmm.
now that we have a Catwoman established in live action, a more modern one, like in Zoe Kravitz, and she got to do a lot of similar things that Selena does, I want a full ass movie. Like,
Right. Let her chew on that. Like,
let her
give her
do
something
this.
good
Like,
to act with,
yeah,
and she'll kill it.
yeah, give her this, even this storyline, flesh it out a little bit. Just give me that. We already seen, this is post like the Penguin doing really good numbers for Max and everything, and that universe
Mm-hmm.
thriving, under Matt Reeves. Give me a series of Catwoman. What's she doing? I know we get a
Right.
hint about her at the end of, Penguin because of familiar ties, but like give me that, man. What's she doing now? What's she been doing since she left Arpats? Like what's going on in her
Mm-hmm.
world? I want to see that. Is she in Rome? Do that storyline. Catwoman Rome. Man, this was so amazing, man. I loved this. This is I put it in my notes. This was up there for tied for Green Arrow. That's my favorite short
Mm-hmm.
cases that we got out of all the
Yeah.
series.
It was a really solid one. Um, I think Phantom Stranger was probably my favorite out of the group we got today. Just because it did feel so classic Catwoman. Like
Yeah.
it was just like so good that I was like, okay, like I'm here, I'm excited, I'm enjoying this. But you're not really making me think about this character. Like I'm already there. I'm already on board. Like
Yeah.
you've already got me. You're not really like challenging my ideas of what a story could look like with this character, which is not like a knock on it, but it's something that I feel like these showcases particularly has a really great opportunity to provide us with that, a way to twist a character on its head and make us think a little differently about them. And that's kind of like what I'm looking for out of these
Mm.
showcases. And we didn't really get that. I don't think we needed it for this character to be have it twisted on its head. I think it was just like a perfect encapsulation of what it means to tell a Catwoman story. And that's incredible. But like I wished it was like a little bit more fleshed out and it was like a tight 70 movie, right?
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. And I know we're gonna get eventually down the line. We will get like a full Catwoman release, which is gonna be nice to
Mm-hmm.
see. And I think she typically gets the spotlight. So in
Right.
the idea of what a showcase should be, um, maybe Catwoman's not the best idea for a showcase, because it's not as rare to see her. The rarity here, I think, is that she got her solo story with no Batman involvement or Bat
Right.
Family involvement, and that's
Which I
maybe
love. I
yeah.
love that she's standing on her own. There's no Batman involved. Like, it's not centering her story around
Yeah,
like
because
the
she
bat and
always
what that
is always
means.
there with them, right? A lot of
Right.
times,
Yeah.
especially in modern media, which it is nice to see because we get to see her, but it's rare
Hmm.
that we get to see her by herself. Not even with the sirens or anything like
Right.
that, just by herself, which it was
Just
a
her.
nice
Yeah.
change of pace because she has a very like extensive comic book history when it comes to the solo series. Like
Hmm.
she has plenty of series, pardon me, and they're all really, for the most part, fairly good. So it is nice to see that, at least showcase wise, is like the difference maker here, where everyone else is
Right.
somebody you're not used to seeing, like Sergeant Rock. Like last week when we were
Hmm.
talking about. Matter of fact, we can move on and talk about it right now. Last week we spoke about when we watched Creature Commandos. There's a whole GI robot episode, and he was part of
Right.
Easy Company in this new DC universe that James Gunn set up. So we
Hmm.
got to see, that this new DC universe's Easy Company, his Sergeant Rock for a
Right.
brief moment, and now this week, funny enough, we get to see Sergeant Rock again. And you have to take into consideration we don't get to see much Sergeant Rock in media, right? Like he is a fan favorite
Right.
character. Robert Downey Jr. calls him his favorite comic book character. I think Daniel Craig is in line to play Sergeant Rock currently in live action. There might
Hmm.
be that. So, we
That'd
get
be
to see
fun.
GI. I would love to see live action GI robot killing Nazis. We need
Be
it at this time.
really yeah, necessary currently.
Yeah, in our current political climate, I need to see a lot of that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Especially in live action. Animation is so good. I kind of want to see that specifically in live action. Um, but that is 2025. DC Universe, James Gunn
Right.
running it. This was like a couple years ago where he's such an unknown character, and then the concept as well of the Creature Commandos, which is funny enough that was our previous episode that we covered all season one of that. They're back
Yeah, I
in
think
this.
this was 2019 was when it
Yeah,
released. So it was like 2018,
yeah.
2019-ish
So this
when
is a
it's created.
perfect,
Yeah.
yeah, perfect example of what a DC showcase should be, right? You're not
Right.
you're not used to hearing about Sergeant Rock, Easy Company, or the
Hmm.
Creature Commandos. So here's like
Hmm.
here's 15 minutes to show you what they are and the basic concept around it, and a cool story
Yeah.
set up there. What were your thoughts on Sergeant Rock?
Yeah, I liked it. I put this on originally and it was the first one that queued up on the DVD. And
Mm.
so I was sitting like at my what's it called? The thing that holds up your TV,
Oh,
entertainment
Entertainment Center.
uh,
Why did I didn't
center.
think
Thank you.
I started
Uh
blanking. I'm like, I don't know. What is it called?
so I'm sitting like this close. Okay, that's an exaggeration. I was like this close to my TV,
Mhm.
and that started. There was a lot of flashing, like the gunshots and stuff, and
Like,
I
oh
went,
Lord,
"Ooh,
it's happening.
okay." I'm gonna step back a little bit. But other than that, no, I really enjoyed this. I love that we saw this like whole character arc of him losing his entire unit, him waking up, him being like, I gotta find them, the like military being like, nah, you gotta do this other mission. Here's your people. We get to meet the creature commandos. They don't really get names, but it's like loosely like Frankenstein's monster,
Mhm.
a werewolf, and a vampire.
A sassy ass
Whatever, that's
vampire,
fine.
still.
A sassy ass vampire,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, and then we like see them take on these like Nazi scientists, and then it's like the big reveal of his entire former, like the entire Easy Company got like Frankenstein and are
Ugh.
now like these like zombie monster creatures that they have to fight. Um, and it was some beautiful like emotional devastation there. And then I love the end moment where the vampire got to wreck shit on the Nazi scientists.
Yeah,
Hell
that
yeah.
was great,
We
man.
are not excusing the scientists in this universe. And
No,
I
yeah.
love that. No pardons for y'all.
Yeah,
Nazis
so
are Nazis. We're calling it how we see it.
you don't get to go to NASA. No, no, you get to die by vampire. And I love that the
Yeah.
vampire, listen, he's like, I'm a monster, but I'm not a monster. Okay, you know,
Right.
I kill and eat people. I'm not a racist. Okay, equal opportunity for my fangs, sir. You know what I
Right.
mean? That's my kind of vampire, man. It's like, listen, I'm not doing
Hmm.
this because I'm racist.
Yeah.
I'm doing this because I'm a monster. You are truly a monster, sir. How dare you take all
Hmm.
these people and do what you did to them? Um, Carl Urban, though, I mentioned it earlier in this. It was just fucking amazing, man. As
Hmm.
Sergeant Rock, he really that voice, man, has such gravitas to it, And it's funny where he get someone so altruistic as like Sergeant Rock, and then watch
Hmm.
the boys and see him be the other biggest piece of shit on the planet that happens to be a good guy just because everyone else is so fucking bad. Like, that's he does such a good job, and I'm really excited personally for
We
me.
love range.
Yeah, that he's gonna. I'm excited that his to see his take on Johnny Cage in the next live action Mortal
Mm.
Kombat movie, which is gonna be interesting because he wasn't my pick for Johnny Cage, but it's gonna be interesting to see where there. But you know what? Watching this, I got major Wolfenstein vibes. The
Mm.
monsters, the
Hmm. Yeah.
castle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nazi scientists killing people. Like it was great. It felt like a level in Wolfenstein. Like, damn, Machine Games,
Yeah.
did you write this? They did a good job though.
Yeah. No, it's good.
Moving on, we are gonna let's talk about. Oh, I got a good one here. We'll end with two
Hmm.
of the strongest ones, but so we'll move on to Adam
Yeah.
Strange. Um,
Yeah.
what's your familiarity with Adam Strange? Was this like? Do you know the character beforehand?
Loosely, like I know the name, I know the
No.
character, I vaguely know the power set, right? Like it's not a character I follow very deeply. Like
Hmm.
I'm not going hard for Adam Strange, right?
Fair.
Um I will say, however, this is a beautiful introduction to the character of him immediately being likened to a random ass hockey player that I know a single thing about. Because we get this beautiful opening where he's like getting trashed at a space bar, and then he gets tossed out, and somebody tries to like move him along or whatever, or maybe beat him up. I don't know. And he straight up like bites their ankle, and I was like, okay, Brendan Lemieux, I see where we're going.
I saw that. I was dying when I saw that. No. Oh my god.
Literally, apologies. I'm sure you're a great person, but literally the only reason I know your name is because you bit Brady Kachuk a couple years ago. And that will be your legacy.
Yeah, you're lucky. Unfortunately, you're not as lucky as like Mike Tyson, where like he bit a man's ear, but also look at this great boxing career he had beforehand.
Right.
you know,
Yeah. My homies start talking about Brendan Lemieux. Oh, look at what
exactly.
he did. Like,
This
all
was this
right.
was cool.
But
I
yeah,
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say like I think the strongest part about this short was the animation. The art style was very pretty. It was very gory, and they really committed to it. And I feel like they had a strong visual identity throughout it, even if the story like
It
I
was okay.
could,
Yeah.
yeah, I could do without. Right, like it was fine. Um, I did have a lot of questions about how zeta beams versus zeta tubes work in this world
Ah,
and the
yes.
math behind that. Like, you can't set that up and then not tell me the answer to that question. And so that really grated on me.
Yeah, that is
But yeah,
straight up.
overall, it was a fine.
Yeah, that is straight up Adam Strange story. So yes, you are right. Looking at your notes, so the Zeta tubes use Zeta beams. That's how they're able, like the Justice
But
League
they like
members are able to
harness
go.
them because you can
Yes,
like control them.
he was like one of the first people to find out the Zetas, like the Zeta beams and stuff.
Okay.
And now he's kind of like
Because he
cursed.
got caught up in one.
Exactly. So like he's like cursed. Like it's like part of his body that he just like every once in a
Mm.
while it will randomly show up and take him away, and he'll be stuck on Earth. It's typically like it
Hmm.
usually is like Earth and Ryan. He goes between. Every once in a while there are a
Mm.
couple stories similar to this where he will show up on another planet and he's like, "Fuck, I gotta wait till like whatever." And it is indiscriminate. Unfortunately,
But like, how does the time displacement work? Because he spent like
years. Yeah,
decades
yeah.
on this random ass, what they, a mining planet they called it.
Yeah, some kind of
And then when
random
he
mess.
dips back to like Rin, is like gonna be like how much time has passed there, right?
Yep, that's gonna be the thing because typically it's when it's done comic book wise, it's usually like, all right, I spent like a year on Earth, and he's waiting for the
Mhm,
day, and he can also like just fly if he wanted to, but it takes a while to get the Rand if he
mhm.
wanted to. But then the Zeta Beam shows up, he's back on Rand, and oh look, now his daughter's 2, so he did like he missed out on a birthday, like it's sad, but
Okay.
then he spent some time with her, and then same thing, he gets
Mhm,
sucked back up, and yeah, I think maybe canon wise now it might be a little more like straightforward, whereas like can
mhm.
harness it, but I think typically most stories with Adam Strange is like he just gets displaced back and forth. Um and because Alana a lot of times,
Mhm.
now knows what's going on, she'll like then Zeta tube herself to Earth. So she'll spend time there, you know, and then
Oh,
she'll go
that's
back.
cute.
You're like, all right, are
Yeah.
you're going back to all right, I'll go. But yeah, there's always that like, oh, it's happening mid mission, or like they did Thanagar is one of their big bad guys. Rand and Thanagar
Mm.
always have a war, and in between they had a big crossover a few years back, like in the aughts, and in the middle of the war, I think Adam Strange got blipped out to uh
Mm.
to Earth in the middle of war. So he's like similar. He had like a scar. He's like, what the hell? Like I was in the middle. He's trying to get back
Mhm.
to his wife as quickly as possible because she's in the middle of the war.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I think you get a little more. You probably get a little more legs out of it if they explain the basic concept of it. If Adam even mumbled drunkenly like, I'm just waiting for the tube, or whatever, it'll
Mhm,
get here soon. Like just explain what is going on with him. But if you don't, they
mhm.
really leave it up to like you got to know who this character is to understand what the fuck is
Right.
going on. It is
And
very violent though.
like for if this showcase's target audience are diehard Adam Strange fans, that's fine. But
Yep.
if you're using this as a way to highlight and showcase new characters that you want people to know and understand, then like where's that balance of like catering to the built-in fan base and growing this character's audience, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's something you get better in our next segment, which is the Phantom
Mm.
Stranger. Something where you can, you can introduce the stranger itself, and that's our
Mhm.
quiz time question. I can't wait to ask you that one. But you showcase them in a unique setting too. The '70s. It felt very like
Mhm.
almost like evil Scooby Doo episode. That's what
Yeah,
it felt like.
exactly what I said. I was like 70s Scooby-Doo vibes
Uh huh.
immediately. They roll up in a van, they're a bunch of like hippie stoners, they're trying to meet their like uh guide or whatever they call
Hmm.
Seth. Okay. And he's got that like fancy mind control necklace, and then he sucks their like energies out of their body. I did think it was like objectively hilarious that like the only way to defeat him was like harnessing the power of like true innocence.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Really leaning into like that purity culture there, but okay. Um, but yeah, I loved the stranger's look. His whole vibe was very fun.
Yes.
The way he like manifested in this world was really cool. It felt really like it really towed that line between tangible and intangibility and like where he operates as a character, which I thought was really cool. I thought this short was really well done.
Yeah.
And fuck Seth.
Yeah, fuck him. Good cameo by Michael Rosenbaum coming in, who's previously played Wally West in DC animated media that we've seen before, or Barry Allen because he did it in the random ass Justice League movie. And of course the best Lex Luthor that we've gotten so far, live action. He did a really good job there. Another cool cameo technically here is Greg Griffin, who plays was it Holly or whatever, the name of the character?
Everybody.
Yeah, Marcy.
Greg Griffin's in everything we do
Yeah,
anymore. And
and
I love that for her.
she's
Booked and blessed.
specifically, funny enough, Daphne in Scooby Doo
Mm,
currently.
mhm,
She's like the
mhm.
main line Daphne from now on, alongside like Matthew Lillard and Fred Welker and stuff like that. So she's taken over Daphne the past like I think decade, maybe 15 years she's been Daphne.
Mm.
So it was nice to
Mm-hmm.
see her here as basically like like the DC's Daphne. It's our second almost like pseudo cameo too, because we got Shaggy last week in Creature
Right.
Commandos for a split second while the Bride and Frankenstein were fighting through time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, this was really cool. Stranger too, yeah, being able to like not manipulate, but like fight and not fight at the same time. Like he can only do so much. Like he's like, all right, if you step out of bounds, I have to step in. I think that's why a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times he's alongside. I think they're called the Omnipresence and the DC canon, alongside like the Spectre and I think Madame Zandu. Uh, I think that's what they are. But yeah, they're these like just you know supreme beings in the DC universe. Um, that like kind of have control over everything. Yeah, there's a few people that have that ability, but yeah, he is. I think he's one of them. He has like he's always one that kind of meddles but can't meddle at the same time. He can't save himself,
Right.
so he can only do so much. Which we'll get into quiz
It's
time.
like,
Why he can
yeah,
only do
it's
so much.
giving like The Watcher again, not to
Mm,
make another what if reference, but then next week we'll talk about the Spectre.
hmm
And I feel like Phantom Stranger and Spectre, in my head at least, are usually like tangentially connected
Yeah,
when they show up. So it was interesting to see um how we can compare those when we get there next
yeah,
week.
because at least for Stranger, I mean, both the Spectre and Stranger are humans to a T. At least fault.
Hmm.
Manifested wise
Yeah.
originally, and then for at least for the Spectre, having that being the all ever judgment of the God itself,
Right.
the God's vengeance on the planet Earth or the universe, that usually takes over precedence in his human half. At least with the Stranger, his human
Yeah.
half like shows through. Like he
Tends
knows
to,
what he can
yeah.
do and he knows what he can do and tries to manipulate the situation to help as much as he can and
Right.
will give warnings like he does here. But when push comes to stuff, he at least can the human side of him can be like, nah, I'm gonna step in, I'll grab the sword, I'll do some magic here and there. Which was really nice. They did
Right.
a
He's
really good job of showcasing what he is
hmm
as a character in this.
he really showed like this idea of how do you disconnect from humanity and where do you step in. And I feel like the Phantom Stranger always tends to lead on the more humanity side where he's like, I want to be involved even if I can't interfere. I'm here, I'm helping,
Mm.
I'm guiding at least. And I thought that was done beautifully with, and again, as you mentioned, him whipping out that sword, that was a gorgeous action scene. Like that
Yeah.
killed it.
No, that was really cool. And I love, what's funny is Peter Serafinowicz doesn't get enough love. He's such
Mm,
a key actor and like great character actor because when you say some of the characters he's played throughout, you know, pop culture, it's really crazy because he's
mhm,
in the Guardians of the Galaxy universe, in the MCU as a
mm,
Nova Corps member. He has a lot of funny lines there. He's played the Tick in live action. Uh, he's
mhm.
he's in this as a family stranger. He's in quite a few other things, and then he is originally the voice of Darth Maul in Star Wars, and that's
Yeah,
where
okay, yeah.
yeah, and that's where funny enough he only has like one or two lines in the original Phantom Menace, but
Mhm,
that's where Sam Witwer kind of takes over, and he credits
right.
Peter Serafinowicz for like just being like those two lines. He based his performance off of those two lines that Peter did, and without it, I mean, we wouldn't have what a voice Maul has. Continuing the
Mhm.
Clone Wars and everything, and Rebels and everything that we
And
have.
what a freaking talent to be able to take a two-line performance and extrapolate off of it what that actor would have done with more and then
Oh my god.
act it out yourself. Like that's
Hundred.
mind-bendingly brilliant.
Yeah, 100%. And I also would be remiss not to shout out one of my favorite performances in anything. He's Pete in Shaun of the Dead. I love him
There you
as
go.
Pete in Shaun of the Dead. He's their really uptight roommate that gets turned into a zombie. Spoilers for that movie that's been out for like 20 years. Uh, yeah, Phantom
That
Stranger.
was, oh my gosh. not to go on a complete tangent, because I don't know how relevant this will be when this comes out. But I was doing something related to Pride and Prejudice the other day. And we were given a quick synopsis of the story beats of Pride and Prejudice. Somebody was like, spoilers. I was like, yeah, for a novel that came out 200 years ago.
Like, what the fuck you mean? Yeah, of course there's no spoilers here. All right. You know, it's also funny. I just real quick, I had to look. I was like, I bet you he's in Pride and Prejudice. One of those. I don't think he is. But funny enough, being like, you know, an English actor, I just assumed they were like, hey, you're British. Can you be in this real quick? He's like, sure, whatever.
You've been in a BBC production, like
Has to be,
miniseries of
yeah.
one of those
Yeah.
classics, right?
Some
Yeah.
way, shape, or form. Yeah, he has to be. He has to be. That's your homework if you're listening or watching. You tweet at us or at Point of Progress or, you know, whatever, Blue Sky us, whatever you want to call it. Or comment down below in the video. Like what BBC production has Peter Serafinowicz have been in? I thought I was gonna mess up his name earlier. I did a really good job not messing it up.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of syllables, and you were killing it.
Yeah. You know what? Also, another thing I wanted to touch upon before we move on to our final section, which I think that's where our DC roundup, our Andrea Romano roundup, will be, because of unfortunate news that we've gotten since. There is, yeah, there is a
Yeah.
line. Seth mentions his amulet is the Ouroboros. I'm saying it the way I've heard it.
Yeah.
Whatever way Rosenbaum says it, I'm not blaming him. I've never heard that pronunciation for that word, and I was like, "Am I
How
wrong?"
did he say it?
I can't even remember. It completely stopped me though. I was like, is that how you say Ouroboros?" Like, I've heard it so many times that I just assumed.
Ouroboros.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, I don't know.
Do me a favor and vape for 1 second. Just, you know, just talk
Okay.
to the camera while
Yeah.
I see if I can find it
I
real quick.
did really love that amulet look though. Like obviously it was pretty simple, and it was just like the symbology of an Ouroboros, but like you didn't really get to see like the snake details in it. It was just kind of a circular thing until he brought it up. And now you have me questioning fully my entire life if I'm saying Ouroboros correct or not. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, I feel like one of us is like right, and it's everyone else and not DC Comics for some reason.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
I feel like
I
there's no
feel
way.
comfortable blaming DC Comics for the incorrect pronunciations of everything ever. Like, how many debates have we had on like pronunciations in different canons of different names and titles? So many times. We'll just chalk it up to DC.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why I think I'm there. Let me see.
This is gonna be great audio for our audio.
I can't find it, but nah, it's fine. It's definitely wrong. It's they're wrong. I'm gonna completely say whoever wrote this, and if it was Andrea voice directing, I'm sorry. Listen, you know, you're allowed to be wrong
You do
once.
so many great things. You have
can't
one
be
slip up.
perfect.
That's fine.
That's fair. You cannot be perfect. All right, and then moving on to our final segment, which to me is the strongest and unfortunately the most controversial now, especially in light of certain news. We're gonna talk about death. This is as in the endlesses. A certain douchebag in pop culture created the endless, which is dream, death, despair. They're all D's, and they're like living embodiments of, you know, intangible things that are within the universe. Mephisto or Morpheus is death, or I'm sorry, he's dream, if you notice, and Sandman and things like that. So unfortunately, we are following Death, which is a great character written by a horrible human being, and that human being is Neil Gaiman.
And I want to once again shout out. Oh, I'm so sorry we don't know your last name. DeMatteis
J.M.B.
for writing
Mateus, yeah,
this. Yes.
yeah, and not Neil Gaiman.
And not that fucking asshole, because he does not have. He has character writing credits on this, but he has 0 writing credits on the short itself. So he's not getting any credit for any of the good things we get out of this short.
No.
And we can blame him for anything we don't like.
Exactly. But man, this is easily for me. Like, although I still say Catwoman is just one of my favorites all around,
Mhm.
just because that and Green Arrow just showcase like the action, the animation, everything
Yeah,
about that for me is like killer.
they're very
Um,
strong. Yeah.
Death and as well Phantom Stranger are perfect examples of what the DC showcase should be, right? Little
Hmm.
known characters, obviously, Sandman is a huge property, and we're not talking 2025. We're talking about at the time of this release. It's still
Hmm.
a large enough property, is a cross media thing. I think at this point we do have the Lucifer series on Fox, and then moving on to Netflix.
Yeah,
I think that is currently at the time of the shorts release of Death. I think that is a thing, which is also
absolutely.
that Lucifer is an adaptation of the Lucifer Morningstar we get in Sandman. I'm gonna say Sandman. I don't want to
Hmm.
really talk about the
Yeah.
writer too much. I don't want to say his
No,
name.
he
I feel like
doesn't
I give him
deserve
power.
credit.
Yeah, I don't want to give him too much
Yeah.
power. Um,
Yeah.
it's unfortunate. I think that was the first time when I started watching it. That was my first note. I was like, oof, here we go. And this is post everything that we've read so far. New York Times has a thing. Vulture has a piece on them. There's a podcast as well about
And my thing is
the things about him.
like I didn't have a lot of attachments to him as a creator. Like he did like the Eternals run,
Yes. Oh, that's a
that
good
most people
run too.
know.
God damn it.
Um, and that's a really good run. But like I hadn't read most of his like DC stuff. I haven't seen Sandman. I haven't engaged with like all the new stuff that they're doing with that. Like, um, there was like one book in my childhood that I thought I remembered and liked, and then I got a, a graphic novel copy of it and was like, oh crap, this is not how I remember it at all, and it's not nearly as good as the story I thought it was in my brain. Which was unfortunately right around the time the first like whispers of what was going on started. Was right around when I got that, and that's kind of how I heard about all of the reports that would then come out about him. So like as a creator, I don't have a lot of loyalty to him as a person. So like I'm very comfortable being like, yeah, fuck that. Like, and I know so many people have such a deep love and attachment to these stories and these characters,
Mhm.
and it is really hard to divorce that from this person that you've looked up to and you've revered their works to have the truth come to light about them. And then you have to grapple with what are your feelings about the art and what are your feelings about the creator and where is that line drawn? Not the tangent I thought we were gonna get on this
No, I kind
episode,
of figured,
but it's one.
yeah, with the allegations out there and all these exposés about him, I wanted to touch upon it because unfortunately, he is such a prominent writer in this space and entertainment in general. One of my earliest things, as an adult, like bonding with one of my cousins, is Neverwhere. My first
Mhm.
exposure to that was like BBC's the horrible in like horrible live action adaptation of it. We're talking early BBC, where like oh, this should be like a minotaur. Is like it's a shadow. We don't have that kind of money. We don't have now
We don't
BBC
have
kind of
Minotaur
money.
budget.
Yeah, we don't have what the BBC money they have now is awesome.
Mhm.
The BBC back then, not so much. You know what I mean? Those early, even the early like
Hey y'all.
Christopher.
Donate to your public broadcast companies.
Yeah,
Support your independent broadcasts because now more than ever it's so important to have free independent media.
yep, exactly. We actually were just talking about this in my day job that we're like we look at BBC for the news to see how they're talking about us because they're gonna be unbiased about us, not our own, not the American news system, unfortunately. Or PBS actually is a
Mhm.
good one too.
Shout out to
Um,
PBS again. We
Hell yeah.
love we love you PBS.
I do love
We
being some
respect you.
PBS. Yes. Don't go away, please God, we need you. And especially now in these trying times. But watching Neverwhere and thinking because he has so much cross media stuff, I'm like, oh, it has to be just a TV show. And my cousin be like, no, there's a book and it's way better. And then reading the book and it is way better.
Mhm.
And then me and Tara have this like anniversary thing we do every year where we watch for our wedding anniversary. We sit down and watch Stardust, which is another one of his properties, and it's beautiful. And
Mm-hmm.
he has this beautiful talent of writing these beautiful worlds and these captivating worlds and these kind of like adult esque scenes, like where there's not necessarily like it is a fairy tale, but there is like some adult themes to it. Not necessarily, I'm not talking, well, some of the stuff that he's been accused of course, but
Mm-hmm.
like more like, hey, it's not going to be rainbows and sunshines in this, fairy tale,
Yeah,
or we'll,
grappling with these complex topics, right?
yeah. So it is, there is some, beautiful things he can write, but now it also does seem like they were just a way almost to prey on people because he writes these beautiful stories, especially this one right here, like this adaptation of one of his stories, um, is a beautiful story of this lonely man who has just been beat down by life so much. Of course, first of all, from jump, is born in Gotham. That sucks.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, that fucking sucks. Like you're already in a
Yeah.
sucky situation. Then, has this artistic drive, has a terrible parent, that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
support him, goes to art college at Gotham University, I'm assuming, and those
Mm-hmm.
teachers suck too because they
You
live in
know,
Gotham.
the place notorious for turning out super villain PhD students.
They're throwing this shit left and right. I'm pretty sure I can go to Gotham and get a fucking PhD right now or something. Like, yeah, bioscience, fine. It's like, shit, you want to do a lab result? Nah, I'm good. I know what happens when we do that. And then, this dude just keeps getting his, you know, life just handed to him. Like he has his girlfriend that leaves him because he's not going anywhere in his life. He's addicted to drugs and alcohol, and he works at fucking Arkham Asylum. Like, is anything
He's
that
a
can happen
janitor
bad?
at Arkham and gets fired for painting the gates too slowly. Like, what the fuck is that? Some Gotham ass bullshit.
That's how you create bad guys. Like that's the thing. Like
Yeah.
Gotham
I
doesn't help
literally
itself.
said, what the fuck did Vincent do to deserve this shit?
He's done nothing, man. Like nothing at all. And this dude's constantly just like beaten down by life. And this is just Gotham through and through. And
Mm-hmm.
he has his first experience of walking into what we know as the audience of death. This
Mm-hmm.
manifest of what the embodiment of death is in this universe.
And I kind
Off,
of love that she was low key giving like Manic Pixie Dream Girl vibes.
yeah,
Like, not quite, but like the energy was there.
yeah, she does. She has a little more energy than these. Sorry, Marvel's depiction of death. But this is also very weird and funny. They're both portrayed as women. If you notice that,
Uh huh.
DC and Marvel's
Yeah.
depiction of
Death is
death.
a woman.
Yeah.
Slay.
Yep. One very vengeful. The other one pretty chill. I'd rather come if I see DC's death. I'm like, oh, it's gonna be good. Um. Oh, that's a good. I have a bonus question now for quiz time. You're not gonna get it, but it's a good bonus question.
Wow. All right. Setting me up for failure. I see how
That's
it
right.
is.
Um, I did have a note here. It was like funny. It was like not funny, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like drugs, failure, and death. Yep, this is douchebags like bag, right? Because a lot of Sandman stories, show Morpheus like dealing with hard times, being like out of his confinement, trying to find the pieces, like seeing like one of the loves of his life, the muse being taken advantage of, and things like that. And then you get some other cool stories of like Dream meeting William Shakespeare and helping him write, famous things. Or one of my favorite stories, I think I mentioned this actually funny enough last week in Creature Commandos. There's they were alluding to a story of his from Sandman, uh, he who shall not be named, with Weasel
Mm-hmm.
at the end when he's like just kicking his feet, and we know it because we see what's in his mind. This is like horrible, traumatic thing he's going through. And he's kicking, trying to save these kids. Unfortunately, it's like, oh, what's he doing? He's probably
Mm-hmm.
just chasing squirrels. There's a very famous Sandman story of these cats, and the cat mom and dad are walking. I wonder what Fluffy's doing, and shows like the history of cats that they ruled over Earth, and now like they subjugated human beings, and then they finally got
Mm-hmm.
oppressed back, and now they're small, and we tamed them, and that the cat is chasing humans and killing them, and that's what those little kicks while the cats are sleeping. Like it's just, when I put this on, I was like, I know this is going to be good, and it is. It is a very
Mhm.
good short. It's very beautiful. It's very tragic. It's right up his alley. It just sucks knowing that at the same time, it's hard to discern, right? Like from everything we've read in recent weeks and seeing
Mhm.
his media is like, is this how you felt? Were you writing something beautifully tragic because you that's what's in your brain and you're trying to get it out and you're creative in that way, or are you preying on people who will latch onto this and see? There's so many people that have latched onto a
Mhm.
lot of his stories and find beauty in their stories, and I think, you know, a case can be made that, that's still there. Like I know people who have the Ankh tattoo, and it's not because of, Egyptian lore or anything. It's because that's, the symbol for death in the endless. That's her symbol that she uses, and her character is so well fleshed out and so beautiful. There's that weird push and pull with him now. Is it, are you being predatory when you're writing this, or is this something that you truly felt and then you were predatory about it because you found these
Right.
lonely people that gravitated to your
Mhm.
work? So it's like a weird push and pull, especially with this story. Like this is a very, I think, beautiful story. If you could find it illegally, I think I feel better about everyone out there watching it, especially so soon after
Yeah.
the allegations. If you could find it on the high seas of the internet or YouTube or something, I would recommend watching this. But there is the fortunate
I
thing I want to
would
put that
yeah.
the asterisk that
Uh-huh.
he's a piece of shit.
I also want to put a heavy caveat that this um was the epitome of the like fanfiction tag emotional hurt no comfort.
Yes.
Um So, like, be mentally prepared for that when you're going
Yeah.
in. Like, it is going to be emotional hurt, and you will not feel good about yourself afterwards. If
Yeah.
you're prepared for that, like, go for it. I did have one question for you though
Mm-hmm.
regarding the like lore of the story.
Yes.
So this like Vincent artist dude, right? Tortured artist as they all are. That's okay. That's a whole other brand. Is like let our artists be thriving again. Like why can't we have rich people like sponsoring artists anymore and let them just create all the beautiful like works to their heart's content? Like why do we have to like suffer for like your creativity to be valid? Anyways, the
Mm-hmm.
point is he's hearing initially we just see one voice and then as we go we see he's hearing four voices. Was that supposed to be like resembling like the four horsemen of like the apocalypse or whatever?
No, I think that just happened to be four people in his life that like screwed him over, and then his brain
Okay,
just showed them as
because I
demons.
really thought that was
To
the imagery they were going for, but it was like slightly off and I was like interesting.
be fair though, with a lot of douchebag storylines, they those
Mhm.
those embodiments will show up to random ass people. If you have watched, Sandman on Netflix, if you read the books, if you read anything of his, like specifically when it involves the endless, these
Didn't
manifestations
like
of things.
Kat Dennings do the audiobook
I
that
believe
recently
she
came out or something?
believe
I
she
love her.
yeah, I think she might be deaf
Again,
or
don't give
something.
him
Yeah.
any more money, but
Yeah.
like,
Your local library is a great place to get audiobooks
right,
and all too. So if you want to do that or Audible sale, that's the way to do it. You don't give it, you don't give him any money. You just, it's
right,
free. If Amazon's like,
right.
here's three free audiobooks and you want to pick one of these, sure. If you want to pick Neverwhere, James McAvoy is Richard Mayhew in that. That's a really good adaptation. Of that.
Or if you like are desperate for like a sci-fi story that has like zero connection or association with him, I'm not a huge sci-fi person, so like take this with a grain of salt. But my like one of my favorite writers ever, like that I've ever read, it is so incredible. Is Nadia Korafor, and she writes African futurism, and it's sci-fi, and it's gorgeous, and like the world she crafts is like the most like beautiful stunning things you've ever seen. So if you want to support women and not a douchebag, maybe do that too.
Yeah,
Just
let's do
saying.
that. Let's do that instead. Yes. Yes, very much so. Yeah, we'll have a link below in the episode for some of her work, and you can support that person to make up for this
Hell yeah.
douchebag just being a horrible piece of shit, and just it hurt. It's so funny, not funny in a haha way, in a funny like wow, the world's cruel way. Because one of my biggest inspirations for like loving media and like really dissecting media is Joss Whedon. And he also is a
Mm-hmm.
douchebag. So it's like, wow,
Yeah.
man, you could write something incredible, but at the same time, you're such a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like wow, both could be true. Apparently, that sucks. I think with this, it's funny. I mentioned Kenny Omega, who's a professional wrestler in AEW, which is tied to Max. And funny enough, this is a good segment to say fuck David Zaslav as well,
Fuck him
because
too.
these are not on there, but AEW is now. One of their featured producers, who's also he just had his retirement match, is Christopher Daniels. He's a big wrestling fan. You will constantly see him if he's not in like suit mode, wearing like a
Mhm.
Wolverine shirt or anything like that. He has the Ankh on his chest. He's the whitest dude ever. No Egyptian in him at all. It's literally because he's that much of a comic book nerd, and he grew up in the '90s with the Sandman as like the biggest alternative thing in media at the time, and it was such a gravitating force, and Death was like big part of that. Like Dream is great. Morpheus is a great character, don't get me wrong, but the second that Death was introduced, it just changed the game. She doesn't even have that many stories. I think now she does, comparatively. And I know there have been other writers who've taken
Mhm.
over in the Sandman universe. I don't think we will see that universe anytime soon. I don't think we'll see those
Mhm.
characters featured anytime soon. I think we get at least 5 years till a lot of people stop thinking about him, and then DC's gonna be like, "Hey, he's not writing it, but these people are writing it." If you see anything
Mhm.
within this year, I guarantee you it was something that was already planned. It was already in motion. They could not stop it. They could not do anything. If you see Death in Crisis on Infinite Earths of the Tomorrowverse, I'm sure that's because of this. Like that was planned before this. They could not change it. But God, it was like we covered this, and I knew we were gonna have to talk about it, and then more allegations came out. I was like, oh, we really have to talk about it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, I think the best way to again, if you could find this on the high seas of the internet, watch this short. I think it is very beautiful. Put that AO3, tag on it. You're not gonna get a happy ending. As I mentioned, he
Yeah.
does write these beautiful tragic
Zero
stories.
comfort.
Yes, which is
Just
funny.
remember that.
Me and Tara have this fight all the time with media because you get
Mhm.
something that has no comfort, right? This is not a
Mhm.
comforting ending, and I see something beautiful in it, in the story that's
Right.
told, and she won't. She's just like, no, that dude died. The fuck? That's not okay. Like he,
Listen, there is room for both. I
yeah,
love I love a hurt no comfort. I love a wump. Like
yeah,
I eat that shit up. But also, when I'm feeling like down in the dumps, there is no good things in this world, like everything sucks. Sometimes you gotta jump into some hurt comfort. You gotta jump into like lean more into the angst, right? Like let yourself feel comforted by the characters experiencing something good at the end of their story, right?
yeah,
Like there's
exactly.
a reason that like romance as a genre has a built-in guarantee of a happily ever after, or at least a happily at the end of this book, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it really is this idea of what are your expectations for the story and what are they promising you with the narrative. And I think you can tell beautiful stories with both.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely, 100%. Um. So before we end this little segment, move on to drama class, I did want to mention, I'll say it again at the end. It's not hard to be, a good person. Um,
Mhm.
so just be a good person. Don't be a piece of shit like this guy. Uh, you know?
Yeah, you have to like actively try to be a piece of shit, and that's a lot of work. So like
Yeah,
maybe just like mind your business
absolutely.
and don't mess with other people's lives.
Yeah,
It's not that
absolutely.
hard.
Yeah, him and his wife just suck. Or his ex-wife, whatever they are. All right, moving on from the heavy shit, we're moving on to drama class. One of my favorite segments, a holdover from MC University. We got one quote right here, one that stuck out to me. Obviously, it's from the previous segment we just spoke about in death. Um, if you want, I could do it.
Yeah, take it
Yeah,
away.
this is
I feel like
Vincent.
this short really resonated with you. I'll let you have this one.
Sadly, it did, and it just that's what makes it like angrier. It makes me angry because I do generally love his stuff, but now there's
Like, yeah, no, I get that. Like, I
yeah,
literally, I have a Harry Potter tattoo, and I own
yeah,
that. I got this, as a sort of fuck you to J.K. Rowling,
good,
because I thought, what's the worst thing that could ever be imaginable for her? And that was a reference to her art existing on a trans person's body, and I felt that was really important to me. You
yeah,
know, it was a huge fuck you, and a lot of people got big, massive Harry Potter tattoos, not knowing who she was as a person. And I'm
exactly.
so glad. Like, I was eyes wide open. I knew exactly like her opinions of my existence when I got this. But there is that grappling you have to do when you love something so deeply and is so rejected and disgusted by the creator. And where is that line? Because the creator, you know, put their own opinions and their thoughts and their beliefs into this work. Those are deeply embedded. You can't separate them, but you can enjoy this art and be deeply critical of the creator at the
Mm,
same time. And I feel like a lot of people who maybe did have to grapple with Joss Whedon also being a piece of shit, but haven't really had to do that in a modern era are like slowly trying to learn how to
navigate
grapple
that,
with
yeah.
that again.
Yeah, 100%. Like your art can be beautiful, but at the same time, that doesn't excuse your behavior. Like both could be true. You could be
Right.
a beautiful artist, and at the same time, the giantest piece of shit on the planet. So
Yeah.
both can be right. But yeah, this comes from Death. This is Vincent talking to Death, and I thought this was a very beautiful line here. Look, it wasn't just a pickup line before when I said what I wanted to paint you a portrait. I see something in you, beauty with an incredible sadness beneath it. So young and somehow so very old. I've been waiting for this moment, this chance my entire life.
hmm
Yeah.
And then
God,
she saves his portrait of
it's
her.
so beautiful. And that's those
Sappy.
heartbreaking stories that he excels at in Sandman. Like there's these horrible things that happen and then Morpheus will do something like, yeah, you're a bad person, but like, or this or you got a bad luck, but here you go, here's this.
Right.
Beautiful, man, beautiful. That's like like perfectly encapsulates what a lot of, and not just him as well. You get Alan Moore stuff, in Vertigo series just had this beautiful like sadness to them, but then sometimes a happy ending, with them. It was really cool to see. All right, moving on. We are going to quiz time. We have two questions here. Both I don't think you get, but they're fun discussions to have. We'll start with this one, very topical, and we'll just get this out of here. Who is the model for Death in Sandman? It's a very famous person, a musician in the early 90s.
Musician in the early 90s.
Yes.
Fuck if I know.
And that is Tori Amos. Tori Amos was who Neil
Should I
Gaiman
know who that is?
oh my god. Yeah, god, yeah. I guess so, yeah. There's so many just so many songs, if you know, yeah. Um she is the original model for Death. And then she heard about this. She was the idea
Uh-huh.
and actually posed for photographs for him, and a lot of the covers for her stories are based off of that. So they are based off, like, they're literally like she dressed up as Death, and then they took portraits, and then those were used as the covers. So yes,
Okay.
Tori Amos. Wow,
Listen, I
Mario's like
have
rolling
really
in his
strong
chair. I was gonna say grave. He's alive.
Quit telling people I'm dead. Um, Listen, I have really strong opinions on like eras of Van Halen, but I could not tell you much about like the '90s in regards to music. I'm so sorry.
I love it. I love it so much. All right. I posted a photo in our DC grads thing so you can see later of like an actual photo of her and then just
Mm-hmm.
just whoever was the artist at the time for Sandman being like, can you draw
Yeah.
her like this? It's like, yeah, okay, exactly like this. Gotcha. All right, and then Sly, because you were reading comics a little bit at the time. Do you know the New 52 origin of the Phantom Stranger?
Listen, if I know any origin, it's probably New 52 because that's the era that I
Uh
was
huh.
around mostly. Um, so we're gonna say probably.
All right. All right.
As much as I know about the Fitness Stranger, it's probably because of New 52.
Yeah, so he's a Judas Iscariot. Uh, he betrayed Jesus Christ, and that's why he has those 50 pieces of silver around his neck. That was retroactive rebooting of his character, who was literally somebody he didn't even know who he was in a previous life. Yeah, they changed it, and
Iconic.
he was Judas. He's Judas. So
So he went from amnesiac, not even knowing his own life, to literal Judas.
yeah, yeah. So that's
That's
why
pretty iconic
he
of
has to
him.
help innocence, but he's not innocent, so he can't defeat like when it has
Uh-huh.
something like he couldn't defeat him.
Yeah.
So he's making penance. Once all 50, once he makes enough penance, he can move on and something like that. But he is just like,
Mm.
I'm fine where I'm at. I just gotta make up for it. I think now he knows who he is and he knows that he's Judas. But like us as the readers, when everything got rebooted, like this is his origin. Like we
Yeah.
didn't need an origin for him.
No,
But
no, you
okay,
didn't. You could just exist. That's fine.
not New 52. They didn't care.
Oh.
Uh,
Yeah, New 52, here's the thing. There are some brilliant decisions
yeah.
that came out of New 52. And we could have so much like a love and admiration for some character choices they made. But some characters are definitively 100 times better before New 52 completely destroyed them. So I really love one of my favorite things is experiencing the majority of my comics book lore through fan fiction because they will very explicitly state like this character is New 52 and this character is pre 52. Just go with
Yeah, just don't. It's AO3. You should just take
it.
whatever with a grain of salt. Okay, that's why you're here. You're trying to escape.
hmm Exactly. That's why I'm here. It's because I want to read
Yes,
this characterization of this character and that
yes.
characterization of
I
that
want
character
I want
smushed together.
pre New 52 Tim Drake or post rebirth Tim Drake, not New 52 Tim Drake, not at all. God no.
The one I was thinking specifically is like pre 52 Roy Harper.
Yeah, yeah. That's fair. That's very fair. Alrighty, wrapping up here. We're going to homeroom. Final thoughts, Sly, on these shorts. Anyone specific you want to give a final shout out
Yeah.
to?
It was really interesting the structure of how we've watched these because the first one, part one we did was here's this DVD that has the collection of all
Mm,
of these, right? And next week, spoiler, is the same format of here's this DVD that has like one of the shorts
mm,
as the titular short, and then also all of the rest are collected on there. But this one really was Catwoman exists on its own and stands on its own and has no connection to anything else. And then the rest of these being bundled in with, hey, let's do an interactive remake of Under the Red Hood and make it a frame story in a diner. Here you go.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Let's get let's get people's money's worth by adding these on here. That's what it felt
Right.
like. Yeah, for me, like I mentioned, I think highlight was definitely Catwoman. Just it's top two for me, but that's just my personal preference. There are some really good ones here, and then there just happens to be Adam Strange's
I think
story.
last time we ranked them. Do we want to do that again?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Unfortunately, unfortunately, death. Is number one. For me, Catwoman number two. Stranger 3, Sergeant Rock, and Adam Strange.
Okay. I'd probably go Phantom Stranger, Catwoman, Death, I guess, Sergeant Rock, Adam Strange. I really enjoyed Sergeant Rock. It was just so short; they couldn't really do much with it.
Yeah, it's really just dropping you in a mission. That's all it was. It's like, oh, okay. It's before
Yeah,
you get like too invested, it's done. You're like, oh, I want more.
yeah.
you know, I
And
guess
that's the
that's a
thing.
good
I think
sign.
if they
But
gave me like 10, 15 minutes more of this, it'd probably be way higher on my list.
yeah, yeah, 20 minutes, 25 minutes might be a good one. Like especially when we get next
Mhm.
week's. All right,
Yeah.
and then yeah, homework is we have another set of showcases. We have Commandy, the last boy on Earth, the losers. Not to be confused with the 2010 Vertigo series that is also a movie. Blue Beetle, again, not to be confused with the Sholo live action movie. Though both are really good if you want to do them, why not? And then finally, Constantine, the House of Mystery. Uh, yeah, that is
Which
it.
apparently, if you get the DVD of Constantine: The House of Mystery, it's all four of them. So.
Yeah, that which is good. It's good because House of Mystery is that 26-minute that we just talked about, like perfect
Mhm.
time. We'll talk about that next week, though. Again, that's your homework. Those four, and till next time. You know what? Before I always forget because we're for us we have something we're going right into it. But for the audience, I guess there's going to be a little week in between. Sly, where can people find you?
You can find me everywhere on the internet at SlyCloudMC. You can find me on We'll Serve the After Party doing Served Up Sundays. We should be made the last couple episodes of Lone Star forever when this posts. So come check out our thoughts on the last remaining episodes of that show. And then of course you can find me on Point in Progress doing various things and maybe pitching new ideas to my co-founders. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Check back in 3 to 5 business months.
That's not days, it's months for us. Yeah, that's how it is for Pip. Yeah, same here. You can find me here, youtube.com/point in progress, or audio sources if you want to listen to DC graduates. You can find the predecessor to this series, MC University, same places online, any audio service of your choice, or youtube.com/point in progress. As well, you can find me here doing my Remedy playthrough series. As of recording this, I've recorded 3 episodes of our season 2. It's not a loop, it's a quantum break as you go through that. And the fun thing is that because at the end of each act of that game, there's actually an episode of television you get to watch, so you get to see me react. And man, there's this one character in that. His name's Charlie. I fucking hate him. That actor does such a good job to make me
Yeah.
fucking hate his character. So kudos to that actor. I shout it out every episode now because he's really good at making me angry. I was like, man, this dude needs to die. I hate this dude. He's like Joffrey levels of like this dude needs to die. Character wise. So kudos to you, man. But yeah, you can find me there. Season 1's already wrapped up. All Alan Wake and Alan Wake American Nightmare. And then yeah, for personal stuff, you can find me youtube.com/nerdtoday. That should be ramping up soon. I'm thinking about it. I haven't took the time to write anything, but ideally, I'm going to be working on that soon, and so maybe some videos might be up on there. And then
Now
Chaos
that you said
Bringers.
it, you got to do it.
That's why I do this every time. I just say it in the universe. That means I have to do it. And then yeah, Chaos Bringers, which is me, Frank, and Harv, where we talk about Final Fantasy games. It's a retrospective podcast series. We plan on coming back with that soon too. So look out for the internet and Blue Sky. Where I'm more active. I'm going to be more active on there than the other place. No
Mhm.
saluting, no saluting. We're active there as well, but ideally Blue Sky more as platform to speak about stuff. I feel safer there. But till next time, class is dismissed.